Alkahest. Alright, let's talk about Alkahest, and no, this isn't some weird new slang for alcoholism. This is a dark fantasy action RPG with heavy horror vibes, and honestly, it feels like the devs took inspiration from Dishonored's grim aesthetic and Kingdom Come, Deliverance's brutal combat. The game promises non-linear gameplay, open-world exploration, and a deep RPG system. You'll fight enemies with swords, spells, and whatever else you can get your hands on, solve puzzles, and interact with a world that looks equal parts eerie and fascinating. We're talking gothic ruins, mystical creatures, and probably a whole lot of nightmare fuel. The devs seem to be going all in on player freedom. You can sneak through shadows like in Dishonored, charge in swinging like a barbarian, or maybe even talk your way out of trouble. It's all about how you want to play. Now, there's no official release date yet, and we don't know when, or if, there'll be public testing. But rumors are floating around that a demo might drop this year, and based on the trailers, the game already looks pretty far along. That's the scoop for now. What do you think, hyped for this one, or still skeptical? Let me know in the comments. Dune Awakening. This is the Dune game we've been waiting for, an ambitious survival MMO set in Frank Herbert's iconic universe. You'll find yourself on the harsh desert world of Arrakis, where survival means scavenging resources, building bases, and fighting for control over the spice. The gameplay revolves around player interaction, through diplomacy, trade, or outright warfare. There are PvE zones for cooperation and dangerous PvP areas where players battle for rare resources. You start as a Bene Gesserit prisoner in an alternate timeline where Paul Atreides never existed, opening up new narrative possibilities. Expect deep character customization with Bene Gesserit-inspired abilities, land and air vehicles, and a faction-based political system. The game even features proximity voice chat, because what's survival without hearing other players scream as a sandworm approaches? Mark your calendars, Dune Awakening launches on June 10th. Hell is us. Get ready for something truly unique. This third-person action-adventure blends horror elements with Souls-like combat, and yes, the title's a clever play on words, Hell is us equals Hell is you.s. Developed by Rogue Factor, this ambitious project drops you into a semi-open world ravaged by civil war and a supernatural catastrophe that spawned monsters completely immune to modern weaponry. You'll play as Remy, a protagonist searching for their roots in this grim setting. The gameplay delivers intense melee combat using special weapons and a drone, combined with deep exploration mechanics, no map markers or compass to hold your hand here. Casual players might struggle, prepare for some whining, but the developers call this player-pleasing design, a system that rewards intuition, observation, and environmental interaction. Side investigations, puzzles, and hidden secrets expand the lore while adding non-linearity. Interestingly, combat only makes up about 50% of the experience, the other half comes from exploration and emotional storytelling. The developers drew inspiration from Annihilation, that mind-bending Natalie Portman film, Dark Souls, and Death Stranding, creating a unique blend of sci-fi horror, action, and atmospheric narrative. All signs point to something truly special. Permafrost. While our world slowly transitions into summer, Permafrost lives up to its name with a never-ending winter. This survival game drops you into a frozen wasteland where the moon's destruction has triggered catastrophic climate changes, blanketing Earth in deep snow and deadly temperatures. Survival at its core. Scavenge for resources in the icy wilderness. Craft essential gear and weapons from scraps. Build shelters to withstand brutal storms. Hunt or be hunted by creatures lurking in the snow. The game combines the forest's crafting/base building with the Long Dark's tense survival mechanics, enhanced by two standout features. A dynamic weather system that can turn deadly in minutes. Fully destructible environments that change your survival strategies. Want to test your survival skills? A free demo is already available on Steam, the perfect way to see if you've got what it takes. This isn't just another survival game, it's a white-knuckle fight against nature itself where every decision could mean life or death. Will you conquer the eternal winter, or become another frozen casualty. Stellar Blade. Well, this bootylicious lady we're all waiting for as one big village. I think you all know Stellar Blade. It's been available on the console for a while now, but it's only just about to make its way to PC this year. In case anyone forgot, this is a fast-paced action-adventure developed by the Korean studio Shift Up. The story takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where Earth has been ravaged by mysterious creatures called the Natiba, and the remnants of humanity have taken refuge in a space colony. We play as a girl, a lass from the 7th Airborne Squad, who returns to Earth on a mission to destroy the Natiba and reclaim the planet for humanity. Gameplay-wise, we'll be fighting fast and stylishly in close combat, focusing on studying enemy attacks, precise parries, and counterattacks. And, well, we'll also be catching some flashbacks of the axe and bayonet. But that's only the first part of the gameplay. The second part focuses on one-handed play, where we'll be swapping her outfits on cooldown in search of that one. What the other hand will be doing, I won't say. If you can't guess, nature itself will give you a hint. Eve, by the way, wields a one-handed sword, literally called the Blade. She also has a drone with ranged weapons for combos and finishing moves. And, of course, you can upgrade her, adding some tactical depth. Oh, and besides combat, the game also has platforming, semi-open world exploration, puzzles, and side quests. All in all, a masterpiece. We're waiting. Beautiful Light. Beautiful Light, the debut project by independent Swiss grinders from the studio Deep Worlds, which is basically a fresh extraction shooter with horror elements in a post-apocalyptic setting. Here, players are divided into 6 squads of 3 operators each, totaling 18 people, whose goal is to infiltrate a dangerous zone, find and extract valuable artifacts while avoiding or eliminating threats, well, mobs, other players, obviously. And then escape. But there are also some not-so-obvious aspects that drastically change the game. Alongside what I just described, there are also 6 players who control monster anomalies that hunt the squads, creating asymmetrical gameplay. The main mode is Raid, which combines PvP, battles against other squads, PvE, fighting zombie-like creatures and traps, and PvPvE, attacks from those anomalies. Nerds here gear up with realistic military equipment, well, firearms, lasers, night vision devices, and so on, and can use unique artifact features in combat. The gameplay emphasizes tactics, teamwork, and risk. Death means losing all your gear, even the stuff you brought into the mission in the first place. Success, on the other hand, grants resources for upgrades, new missions, and customization. The horror atmosphere is enhanced by grim locations, sound design, and mechanics like pick layer, for example, panic reloading under stress. Yeah, that's a thing here. Last year, the game had a short test for a select few, but there haven't been any public ones yet, so we're waiting for updates from the devs. Mafia, The Old Country. The legendary Mafia. This time, it's the 4th game in the series. A prequel, the events of which unfold in 1900 Sicily, in the fictional city of San Celeste, previously mentioned in Mafia 2. We'll be playing as Enzo Favare, an orphan who survived a harsh childhood in the northern states and now seeks to prove his loyalty to the Teresi crime family to become a man of honor. Unlike previous games in the series, the gameplay this time is focused on a linear, story-driven experience. We'll take part in intense shootouts and melee combat, using authentic weapons of the era, like revolvers, pistols, rifles, and sawed-off shotguns. And, for once, there are stealth mechanics. They'll play an important role, allowing us to eliminate enemies quietly. And even though the story and narrative will be linear, we'll still get to ride around on different vehicles. There are horses and early 20th century automobiles. The developers, by the way, emphasize cinematic presentation, deep storytelling, and authenticity, even including Sicilian voice acting to capture the spirit of the era. And, of course, Unreal Engine 5, as always, delivers stunning visuals, though no open world. I think its optimization will be excellent. Continuation of the legendary grand strategy. Europa Universalis 5. Europa Universalis, or Universalis, as we used to call it as kids, this time with a proud number 5 in the title. The game covers roughly 500 years of history, starting in 1337, the beginning of the Hundred Years' War, and stretching to the Age of Revolutions, around 1836. Here, we take control of one of hundreds of nations or societies, managing economy, diplomacy, military campaigns, and internal politics. The fifth installment keeps the core of the series, running a country through trade, wars, colonization, and reforms, but it also introduces some new features. For example, there's now a population system, inspired by Victoria 3, where, say, colonists must now be actual people from your country. There's automation for influence groups, like the nobility, clergy, bourgeoisie, and commoners, who constantly demand things from you. And, get this, the devs even added an AI assistant that can simplify gameplay and take over certain tasks, like, say, managing armies. They'll patrol on their own, do stuff, and so on, so you don't even have to sweat it. As for release details, it's still unclear. The game was just announced a couple of weeks ago, but it already looks extremely promising. Light of MOTIRAM. Not enough survival games for us today, huh? Well, here's Light of MOTIRAM for you. An ambitious open-world game in this genre. The action takes place in a post-apocalyptic little world of 2068, where humanity has nearly gone extinct after a mysterious cyclical experiment resembling the Pharaoh Plague from Horizon Zero Dawn. The Earth has turned into a wild wasteland dominated by giant mechanical beasts. We all know where this is copied from, right? We start in a primitive era, exploring different biomes, tropical jungles, deserts, and even snow-capped mountains. We build bases, craft weapons and tech, and, well, no shit, we'll be able to tame all this biomechanical crap that inhabits this world besides us. The game itself, by the way, is supposedly free to play with microtransactions. How they'll affect gameplay isn't clear yet, but hopefully not too much. Honestly, an online Horizon would have been pretty damn fun to play. Pioner. So, what about this online stalker? This is the brand new Pioner, which they've supposedly been tinkering with for like 1,000 years. Hopefully, they'll actually finish it and bring it to a playable state. And, well, it'd be logical not to faceplant into the dirt. After all, this is the debut project of Russian studio GFA Games, inspired by Stlkr, Metro, and Tarkov. The game is set on the post-apocalyptic Soviet island of Tartar, isolated from the world after a technological disaster linked to a mysterious facility called the Graveyard. We play as a former Special Forces operative whose goal is to survive, find missing comrades, and uncover the island's secrets. The game's world is overrun with anomalies, mutants, and hostile factions, so we'll face harsh conditions where scavenging resources, crafting gear, and managing basic needs, like hunger, rest, and all that, are crucial. Oh, and the maps. Apparently, they're no joke, around 500 square kilometers, not counting underground areas, featuring abandoned Soviet factories, labs, villages, and anomaly zones. And honestly, it all looks pretty damn good to our eyes. There are also 4 factions with unique quests and endings. Completing missions increases your influence level, unlocking better gear and new objectives. Basically, they've crammed in a ton of mechanics and modes. There's even an extraction mode, so now all that's left is to wait and see what the devs have actually cooked up. Borderlands 4. Just hearing the word Borda already warms your insides with something cozy and pleasant. Of course, it might also make you think of that movie adaptation, but let's not go there. Instead, let's look at the 4th Borderlands, though technically it's the 5th main installment in this legendary franchise. The action takes place on a new planet, Kyers, 6 years after the events of Borderlands 3, where Elpis Moon, teleported by Lilith, shattered the protective barrier that had hidden Kyers from the rest of the universe. This triggered chaos, civil uprisings, and weakened the rule of the local dictator, the Keeper of Time, who controls the population via cybernetic bolts implanted in their brains. Oh, and there's also an army of synthetic soldiers. So, as usual, we take on the role of one of 4 new vault hunters, join the resistance, and try to overthrow this keeper while hunting for precious treasures. Gameplay stays true to the classic Borderlands formula, a co-op looter-shooter with an emphasis on loot farming, chaotic firefights, and absurd humor. All in all, it's shaping up to be really good, so you definitely shouldn't miss this one. Mecha Break. Mecha freaks, this game's for you. Personally, I can't stand the whole mecha theme, gave it a chance only with Armored Core, and even then just because Miyazaki had a tiny hand in it. Still didn't click for me. Just not my thing, no offense. But here's Mecha Break for those who do love it, a fast-paced multiplayer mecha shooter made by Chinese devs who clearly eat, sleep, and breathe mecha. Inspired by anime like Mobile Suit Gundam and Macross, plus games like Armored Core 4. The setting? A post-apocalyptic world after the Great Catastrophe of 2082, where a solar flare triggered geological disasters, exposing a valuable but deadly mineral called carrot. It sparked a new energy revolution, but its pathogenic properties created infected zones threatening humanity with extinction. You play as 3rd-gen pilots, called Break Strikers, basically, dudes in OP mechs, brawling for control over this mineral. And brawl you shall, across multiple modes. 3v3 Arena. Larger 6v6 clashes. A hypercarnage 200 square kilometers map, yes, 4 times bigger than Pioner's open world, where you'll fight not just players but also mobs, bosses, and other nightmares. Your mechs fall into 5 classes, your usual roles, healers, snipers, assault, etc., but with deep customization, because what's a mecha game without it? So yeah, if giant robots make your gears grind, this should be right up your alley. Kingmakers. Speaking of absolutely brutal battles, the kind that would make your graphics card surrender at the mere thought of rendering them, Kingmakers promises exactly that, whenever it actually releases. This is essentially a one-of-a-kind hybrid blending action, strategy, and simulation in a medieval setting with modern-day firepower. You play as an elite operative sent back 500 years from a post-apocalyptic future to 1401 England during the Welsh Uprising. Your mission: rewrite history to prevent the apocalypse, using an arsenal of modern weapons like assault rifles, shotguns, grenade launchers, APCs, motorcycles, and even attack helicopters. Imagine the faces of dudes in plate armor when a Black Hawk starts raining lead on them. The game features 2 core modes, technically one seamless experience, but with distinct playstyles. Third-person action, you personally wreck medieval armies with guns, vehicles, and explosives. Top-down RTS, command thousands of units, knights, archers, etc., build fortifications, manage economies, and orchestrate battles. Every clash is a large-scale simulation. Advanced AI governs individual soldiers with their own decision-making, loyalty systems, and pathfinding. Procedural animation tech ensures chaotic, detailed combat, think limbs flying as a grenade hits a shield wall. Beyond warfare, you'll build kingdoms and manage settlements. Choose factions, England, Scotland, Wales, with branching narratives and multiple endings. Team up in 4-player co-op, where each player commands their own army, leading to unholy levels of carnage. So yeah, we're waiting. And so is my poor RTX 4090. Killing Floor 3. So, wanna blast some zombies to hell? Then Killing Floor 3's got you covered. This is the next chapter in the legendary co-op zombie shooter saga, set in 2091, a whole ass 70 years after KF2. Yeah, the future still sucks, with hordes of bioengineered Z freaks, you know, those ugly motherfuckers, roaming around. You play as rebel ops fighting this undead nightmare. The goal? Survive endless waves of Z attacks, complete badass missions, and pimp out your arsenal. At its core, it's the same Killing Floor we love, team-based slaughter with a heavy dose of bloody, meat-grinding chaos. Running on Unreal Engine 5, so the gore looks next level sick, think limbs flying in 4K. Same KF vibe, but cranked up, bigger, louder, nastier. Here's the kicker, though, devs ran a closed beta sesh recently, and players roasted their asses, calling the game raw as fuck. So now they're scrambling to fix this mess. We'll see when it actually drops and if it's playable or just another train wreck. Metal Gear Solid Delta, Snake Eater. Alright, let's talk about this legendary remake of an already god-tier classic, Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater. This is a full-blown redo of the 2004 masterpiece, and it's bringing Snake back in glorious next-gen fashion. The setup, year, 1964, peak Cold War vibes. Starring, Naked Snake, aka the dude who becomes Big Boss. Mission, infiltrate the Soviet Union, extract a rogue scientist, Nikolai Sokolov, nuke a superweapon, and, oh yeah, put a bullet in his former mentor, the boss, who went full traitor mode. Why it matters, this is the origin story of Big Boss and the entire Metal Gear saga. If you've never played the series, this is the perfect F***ing entry point to understand why everyone loses their shit over these games. Gameplay, stealth first, guns second, you're in the jungle, so expect camouflage, CQC, close quarters combat, and survival mechanics, like treating wounds and hunting for food. Radio chatter, Snake's always yapping with HQ, just like the OG. Faithful but fresh, the story's untouched, but gameplay's been tweaked for modern players, think smoother controls, better visuals, but still old-school Metal Gear at heart. Bottom line, if you've played the original, this is nostalgia on steroids. If you haven't, buckle up, you're in for one of the best espionage stories in gaming. Wuchang, Fallen Feathers. Yo, guess what? Eve, from Stellar Blade, ain't the only badass lady slaughtering everything in sight today. Meet Wuchang, Fallen Feathers, a Souls-like action RPG from a Chinese dev team, set in a dark, fictional version of the late Ming dynasty in the Shu region. The protagonist, you play as by Wuchang, a pirate queen with amnesia, classic. A mysterious curse called Featherblight, turning people into monstrous abominations. The world, a war-torn land split between factions. Supernatural BS everywhere, courtesy of the Featherblight plague. Your job? Explore, fight monsters, uncover your past, since your memory's gone to shit, and decide the region's fate through branching choices, multiple endings, baby. Gameplay highlights, combat variety. 25 plus unique weapons, swords, spears, etc. 40 plus spells / magic skills to mix into sick combos. Deep build crafting, this ain't no barebones Souls-like. World structure. Semi-open with 5 major regions, 10 hours each. Your actions in early zones affect later ones, think The Witcher 3 but with more feathery horrors. Not Elden Ring sized, but dense and gorgeous, seriously, the art direction slaps. Verdict, if you want a Souls-like with Chinese mythology, banger combat, and actual story choices, this might be your next obsession. Just don't expect a giant open world, it's tight, polished, and mean. Splitgate 2. What about some shooty? Well, more like waiting for it to drop and then some shooty. Just FYI, this is the second Splitgate sequel to that pretty popular free-to-play FPS, often called Halo with portals. You can check out the first one and see why that comparison totally fits. Now, the second one's set in the futuristic world of the Souls Splitgate League, where players, as elite fighters, basically compete on sports arenas, using portal guns to zip around. Oh, and regular guns to blast enemies. Bottom line, you're in for fast-paced firefights with that unique portal mechanic, straight out of Portal, yeah, the game, letting you warp through walls and set up tactical plays. And yeah, it adds its own new strats and spice. Like before, you can slap portals pretty much anywhere, and not just walk through M but shoot through M too. So flex those big brain outplays to wreck enemies, this game's got plenty of that. Game modes? A few. You've got basic 4v4, and then some wild stuff. How about an 8v8v8 cluster? Yep, 3 teams going ham on each other in big maps. Ranks coming too, BTW. All in all, it's a full-on upgraded Splitgate. The first was, and still is, fire. So if you somehow missed it and don't want to wait for the second one, just dive in. Reanimal. I think it's no secret to anyone that there's an amazing game series called Little Nightmares. Well, the devs behind these masterpieces decided to cook up a new banger, Animal. The story unfolds on a ruined island that was once home to the 2 main characters, a brother and sister. Now, it's a hellish place crawling with mutated animals and monsters, like a spider wolf, a bloodthirsty sheep, or a giant pig with a butcher's vibe. We play as orphans trying to rescue 3 missing friends and, along the way, uncover some dark local secrets, traveling either on foot or by boat. Just like in Little Nightmares, there'll be a bit of survival stealth, a sprinkle of puzzle exploration, and a freaking ton of bleak-as-hell atmosphere that hits harder than any horror. These devs really nailed that before. The game's being pitched as a spiritual successor to Little Nightmares, but with an even darker edge and now co-op. Though, for now, who the hell knows when it'll drop, but maybe some dang gameplay or tests will come this year. Breathedge 2. I love it when you know a dope game and then randomly find out that a sequel to this masterpiece is coming soon, with a big fat 2 in the title. That's exactly what happened to me with Breathedge. Behold, the sequel to the ironic space survival game from the Russian studio Red Ruins. The action unfolds in a retrofuturistic cosmos, continuing the story of the protagonist nicknamed the Dude. Yeah, just the Dude, who's up against a powerful local corporation. We'll get to explore star systems, fight enemies, and command a crew. Yep, we've got a crew now. And, of course, take care of our immortal chicken, the iconic sidekick from the first game. The game keeps its absurd humor, roasting the pretentiousness of space. Happy flying, ladies and gents. And yes, it's still getting compared to Subnautica and the Outer Wilds for its mix of survival and exploration, but, naturally, in a way more comedic style. The devs also promise it'll be a bigger, more open version of the original, blending survival, crafting, humor, and sandbox elements in their own quirky space setting. Gears of War E-Day. And let's wrap up this parade of absolute bangers with another absolute banger, the new Gears of War. And no, I'm not talking about the upcoming remake, but something else entirely. This is the 6th mainline entry in the Gears of War series, a prequel set 14 years before the original Gears of War, 2006. On the day known as Emergence Day, aka E-Day. Yep. That's when the Locust Horde first burst from underground on the planet Sarah, wiping out a quarter of humanity in the first 26 hours. Now that's a killer setup. We'll be playing as a young Marcus Fenix and his buddy Dominic Santiago in the city of Kalen, a new location for the franchise. The game focuses on the birth of their friendship and their struggle to survive the chaotic early hours of the Locust War. Gameplay-wise? Well, expect the classic Gears formula, cover-based combat, brutal melee, and savage executions. It's a fully linear world and story, with a dash of horror, but not too much, so it won't be as creepy as, say, Dead Space. Since it's running on Unreal Engine 5, the visuals are straight up gorgeous. All in all, this looks like a triumphant return to the series' dark roots. It's set to launch either late this year, right after the remake, or in 2026, we'll see. And that's it for today. I'm sure you've got another killer game you're hyped for, drop it in the comments below. It'll help me and other viewers scrolling through them. Also, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already.